Good evening and welcome to the Autodromo Nazionale Monza, the Italian FSR Grand Prix, a classic circuit with hopefully some classic action to come, and it's round 9 of the FSR World Championship 2014 season. Alongside me again today, Chris de Jong, who manfully handled commentating on his own last time, but I'm back with him today, so welcome to you, Chris.
Yeah, it certainly was manly.
Yes, the less said about
and
that,
we can hear the crickets chirp, you know. But yeah, it's a brilliant venue. We got 44 laps, if I'm correct, of pure top speed racing here with the best names that online sim racing can offer. And yeah, we're starting Q1 in a few seconds. Actually, the light will go to green.
Yeah, we're going to move into qualifying session 1. So, of course, remember, everybody here will compete and then the top 10 will go through. Well, I say everybody, we have got 4 drivers who will be starting from the back of the grid at this race. 2 of them, I believe, for late allocations and 2 for back of the grid penalties. The late allocations, Borja Garcia and Alvaro Torres, who I believe is up to stand in for Ville Lepler at the last minute.
Yeah, but also, Jim Paresis is starting the race, though. I believe he had a race ban.
Yeah, Paresis is actually supposed to have a back of the grid penalty. Has he gone out? Maybe he's just going to do a warm-up lap and then come back in, I don't know. But he, according to what I'd heard, he was on the back of the grid penalty along with Rob van Starkenburg. So they're the two that we're expecting to have back of the grid penalties for this session.
Yeah, but I believe Jim Paresis got a race ban off, but it should have been changed then. I don't know.
Maybe, I mean, it's possible, of course, if they've appealed that, then that would then go to a back of the grid penalty, I believe, while they sort that out. So until the Court of Appeal hears that case, he will have to start from the back of the grid. I believe that's how it works, because I believe we had another driver who had that same sort of instance earlier on this year. So maybe that's what this is all about, and that's why Jim Paresis is here. But, I'm assuming, is this got something to do with the, is this something that happened in Indianapolis, or was it something, what happened in Germany? I'm not sure.
No, it was in Indy. He basically overshoot his pit box, and Eduard Malorca removed the penalty whilst it was just a penalty for driving through the pit lane, so he manipulated the stewards there, Jim Paresis. But nevertheless, he's here, and he has to start from the back of the grid, so at least it's a penalty. But yeah, if we stop to focus on that and look towards the top names of the pack, what do you think we will see in terms of lap times into qualification? Certainly 22s. I mean, Pro and Ace were up to it. So.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting today. NetRex have actually, in qualifying at least, not had a particularly good weekend. Yesterday, there were none of the NetRex cars, and there were 4 of them, I believe, in Ace, and none of them were in the top 10. But then again, Danny Van Der Neat won the second race, so it was a great drive by him. So we'll have to see if that affects the NetRex guys today. Maybe stronger in the race than they're going to be in qualifying.
Well, at least Morant can get a shot in again because he had a back of the grid in Indy. But yeah, you guys all know I'm with NetRex. I certainly know what Morgan can do, and I hope his full potential will come out, obviously. But I have no clue whatsoever what the rest will do. David Greco 2 weeks ago surprised us all. It was a tiny surprise because he's a very good racing driver, but he surprised us by taking the victory in such a fashionable manner that he should be a contender instantaneously as well for this win. Definitely 50% of his home race, the Italian-Brazilian David Greco.
Yeah, he is, it certainly is, and it was nice to see Greco win again. It's been a while, but he was back on the top step of the podium. Yunus Simoncic is going very fast at the moment. The first sector that he did was particularly good, and a 27.9, which is a good lap, and Calamise now goes fast as 23.2, the first to set a lap, and Simoncic actually slightly slower than that, with a 23.3. Martin Gosby, though, that's quite a bit off the pace, and that would put him, I would imagine, towards the bottom end of the top 10, if not out of it at the moment. Nobody in the 22s yet, surprisingly, which is, considering this is Q1, we might expect that in Q2, because of course, they've got to run very high brake ducts this weekend because Monza really is a killer on brakes.
No, I think they have about maybe brake duct 4, but maybe 5, but nothing more than that. So it's definitely not a Canada style car. And there we go, David Greco, P1 at this moment 23.174. But surprising indeed that although they are probably and most likely banker laps, but they are still in the 23.
It's going to be interesting. The Ghost Speed cars very fast through that first sector, same as they were yesterday. They really have set their car up, I think, for straight line speed, Ghost Speed. They were excellent. Morgan Moran, 22.967, the first man into the 22s, but there's no doubt David Greco has really found some confidence in the last couple of races. Towards the beginning of this season, he wasn't really troubling the top spots very much at all, but he's very much up there now, Chris.
Yeah, he certainly is. And as we have seen, if we talk about setups a little bit, as we have seen in the Pro Series, the top speed here is incredibly important, and you would say, you know, it's Monza. But what I'm trying to say with that, it can make all the difference if your top speed is 335 or an extra 10 kph more, and it will stuck around 345. Rens Klopp taking brilliant advance in the Pro Series by winning that race, but not purely on top speed. He had the slowest top speed of the front runners, but in terms of strategy, he managed to pull out in front after the pit stops and stay in front. But really, if you don't have a higher top speed than the guy in front of you, overtaking will be really hard.
Yeah, it certainly will, and that's the problem. You'd think round here it would actually be easier given that it's Monza, but it's not always the case. Callum Hughes has just gone a very, very good first sector, a 27.986, which matches the Ghost Speed cars through there, so that's very good. And he's looking quite fast in practice that we had just before this qualifying session. He was faster than Bono Huis, I think, and he's also faster than Huis at the moment in this session as he heads through one of the DRS sections towards the Ascari chicane. We've got two DRS sections here, one on this back straight and then the other one, of course, on the main pit straight. It's a pretty good sector too, not quite as good as he did on the first lap actually, but nevertheless he's lost most of what he gained in the first sector. 27.252 he did in the sector 3 on the last lap. Can he improve on that and maybe improve his lap time a little bit? Let's see. As he comes out of the Parabolica away towards the line, you'll see them cutting across slightly to the right, and he does improve, but only by a couple of hundredths.
Yeah, and as you were just saying that, I was just watching the top speed. Morant is staying stuck at 340 kph with his DRS fully wide open, and David Greco with 345, having a really nice top speed. And Simonsic indeed is second, but only Morant still in the 22s. This is a real surprise to me.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how the Ghost Speeds get on. They were very fast in qualifying yesterday and then dropped away in the race, so hopefully Simonsic can keep this performance up. He's up there in second at the moment. Bono Huis has moved up to fourth. I think the problem that Bono's got this year, and the reason why he's got a bit of a points deficit to Morgan Moran, is because of how close it is. Moran's just got those 2 tenths on Huis, which is not an awful lot, but the problem is that there is quite a few drivers in that gap, about 2-3 tenths behind Chris, and that's why Huis it's a lot more difficult, because he's got lots of people who are on a very similar pace, just a couple of tenths behind Moran.
Well, I have to say that I do believe that some drivers in the top 5 are taking it rather slowly, maybe on purpose, and I wouldn't be surprised if Morant would actually test some Q2 right now. But yeah, before the race I would have instantly said we would see a majority of 22.7 or 0.8, and a lot of drivers would get in there, but apparently on terms of qualifying pace it's about the same as Pro.
It's maybe it certainly is. It's surprising actually. I mean, it's maybe a good time to focus on the battle for around 10th spot, because we know that the top 5 are going to be in there. I don't think people are going to improve enough to knock them out. So Patrick Holzman for Ash Racing, driving for Ash Racing here, I believe he is a Ghost Speed driver now. He'd switched from Twisted, he's run wide there at the exit of the Variante della Roggia, so that's not going to be a good lap, and he's going to abandon it. He will have time to get round if he's quick for another one, but he's going to have to get round quick. So at the moment, Kostadinov is there on the edge of that top 10, and also Patrick De Witt and Martin Gosby around there. It's nice to see De Witt, after a couple of not so good performances, getting in qualifying, getting back up towards the top 10 again.
Yeah, surely.
Jan Kostadinov apparently hitting the limiter on the main straight, so he's obviously thinking about the race, because obviously in the race you won't be able to hit the same top speeds that you can in qualifying. Although I'm surprised at that, because with the amount of slipstreaming that you can do round here, you can normally get to the top speeds in the race, because you normally...
Maybe on the end of the race. Of course, what you just said is because of the high fuel loads at the early stages. And I do think these drives are around 190, maybe 200 liters. But yeah, it's gonna be a tough one. Nevertheless, 44 laps.
53, I think.
53. Oh,
we get a bit extra.
Screw it up.
But,
yes. My mistake then. Sorry for that.
No worries, it's 53. Yeah, so 53 laps. It's a very quick race, is Monza, though, because we cover a lot of distance in a short time because of the speeds that they're doing. So Holzman is back out. Kolarec, I'm just trying to see what Antonio Kolarec is doing, whether he might push himself into that top 10. Gosby's jumped up now to 7th. He only improved by a few hundredths, but it's so close that actually put him up in a 7th place from 9th. So,
yeah, and Bono just to 3rd spot away.
Yes,
so
he did.
23.1 for him.
Looking at some of the guys further down, I was surprised how low Burlak is down. He's not having a particularly good run. He's a full 7/10 slower than his teammate, which you won't be happy about, because you would imagine they would have similar setups.
Yeah, and Brilliak clinched a lot of victories earlier in his FSR career. Oh, maybe he stuck there a little bit, stuck around a little bit too long in GPVWC and lost his way a little bit. I don't know.
A nice kick at the opposition there from Chris de Jong. That's what we pay him for. Anyway, Patrick Holzman, he's going to be really disappointed if he doesn't get into this top 10, because he's basically outside it by 0.006 of a second at the moment. You know, you don't mind so much if you finish 11th and you're sort of 2-3 tenths off the top 10, but it's going to be really gutting if he misses out by 0.006. I remember in a race in Ace earlier this year, I missed out by 1,000th of a second from the top 10. I can't tell you how annoyed you feel with that.
Position with a 22.852.
He's on fire, isn't he? He's back
he surely
doing his best again, and he really is, and taking the challenge to the others now. Maybe a second successive victory today for David Greco, maybe, who knows? That's the way he's performing at the moment. So Holzman then comes towards the line. This is going to be his last chance. He hasn't got another one. Let's have a look. 23-3, wow. He's done it.
Great job from him, and that almost pushes Patrick de Witt out. But he's coming through the Parabolica now. Can he improve to be secure? Be safe, he can. The 6th place. So now it's Keithley. But I don't know if there are any other runners. Apparently not.
No, I think they're all in the pits now. So the last one across the line that was outside the top 10 was Dino Paolini, and he's down in 18th place. So we have our top 10. Improve. So there we go. So yes, David Greco, Morgan Moran, Simoncic, Huis, Calamise, De Witt, Holzman, Martin, Gosby and Keithley are your top 10. Not too many surprises in there. It's nice to see Patrick de Witt back up there. And Greco, fastest time in Q1, a 22.8. I suspect that Morgan Moran has a little bit more in hand, as probably do some of the other drivers. But nevertheless, David Greco at the moment really performing very well indeed.
Yeah, nicely said. And now it's Jack Keithley to take this Q2. And as soon as the lights are green, he's already exiting the pit.
Well, we've got a minute while he's on his formation lap. I think we should probably just mention that one of our former FSR commentators, Mr. Jack Nichols, did a very good job commentating on Formula E this weekend. I don't know if anyone saw it, but Jack was the commentator for English television on ITV. And very well done to him. It just shows that he used to commentate on FSR. Those of you, well, many of you will remember him, I'm sure, and he's doing a great job now as a commentator in Formula E. So well done to Jack. I think it was only right, really, with the service he gave FSR through highlights videos as well as commentary, that we do give a bit of a shout out to him.
Yeah, nicely done. Nicely done. So who is your number one for the pole position here? I
think I still suspect that Morgan Moran will get it, but I don't know. I'm almost tempted to go for Greco, because I know that he's really got, you know, the magnets on everybody at the moment. He's really going very fast indeed, and he's got his mojo back. And I think that he is going to be a hard man to beat, because he's really driving very well indeed at the moment.
Yeah, he sure is, but I mean, it's a tough call. That's for sure. As Keithley makes his way onto the back straight, enters the Parabolica right now. Most important corner of the entire track. And here we go. He manages to have a good exit, which carries him a lot of speed and momentum on towards the straight. And as we take a look on his top speed, with the ERS open, it's 344 kph. Finds himself brilliantly through the first part of this. Let's see, what will his first sector time will be? 28.1.
Well, that's not bad. If you consider the fact that they're now running heavier brake ducts, they will have run those ducts at the lowest possible in the first session, so that's pretty good. 28.1, only a couple of tenths down on what we saw as some of the fastest times in Q1.
A little bit of oversteer there coming out of the second Lesmo. Does compromise his exit speed a little bit, which will carry through until this corner. 28.1 again in sector 2. Now only the Parabolica remaining. I mean, he surely wants to have a 23 low here.
What do we reckon, 23.3? That's my guess.
Yeah, let's put it like that. So here he comes across the line. 23, ooh, 23.7. Didn't have a perfect lap.
Okay, what do we know?
Yeah, but I surely think that he would have. He's a little bit disappointed with that. Nevertheless, it's now Martin Gosby's turn, and his top speed is 345. Pretty similar.
Yep. That's pretty similar to some of the top speeds we saw yesterday. I think we saw 347 just once or twice in the ace race, but more than very rare that. So that's pretty standard that from Martin Gosby. So difficult.
He does look quick though. Sorry to undercut you there, but is it a 27? Yeah, 27.850 here. Already taking 3/10 out of the time.
Well, he was obviously sandbagging in Q1 then, because that's better than he did in Q1. So he's finding some time. Gosby, he was only 9th in Q1. He was not far from going out. There were only hundredths, remember, separating some of the drivers. Kicks up a little bit of dust on the exit of the second Lesmo. I don't think you'd be worried about that. You can usually get pretty good grip even out there on that curb. So as he comes through the second sector, 27.8 as well. So this is a good lap from Gosby. He's about 4/10 up on Keithley.
Yeah, no, more like 6. He's up for a 22 here. So definitely a lot of driver sandbagging, as you just said, in towards Q1. Let's see, however, carries a good entry speed and takes a short line. Shortest line possible through to the finish, and it's a 23.100. Nevertheless, great lap from Gosby. I think he will be satisfied.
I certainly think he will. That would have put him 3rd, I think, in Q1, which does make you wonder what on earth he was. He was obviously not pushing as hard as he could in Q1, just making sure he got the lap in. But of course, these qualifying sessions are so short that sometimes it's a good idea to do that, Chris, because you only get 3 laps at most. So if you muck them all up, then you might as well take it a little bit easy on at least one of the laps to make sure you get a lap.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And now it's the turn of Carlos Martin, who of course already scored a podium. His top speed, however, is slower than the rest. Also reaching the limiter on 340 kph. Let's see how much it will compromise his first sector time. Remember, 27.850 is the target to beat. He has a 28.076. So Martin a little bit down in sector 1. Maybe with a higher downforce, you suppose he would have, considering he has less top speed. He might be able to get some time back into the Lesmos here. Doesn't have a brilliant exit though.
And looking at his sectors, it's not bad though. 28.0 in the first sector, 28.0 in the second sector. I think it's 4/10 down on Calamese, but it should, not Calamese, sorry. But it should put him into second place. He's 4/10 down though, and so yes, Carlos Martin, it's an okay lap. It's not fantastic, especially given that Netrex would be expecting some very high qualifying performances, but as I said, they weren't great in qualifying in Ace yesterday, so apart from Moran, who is always a bit of an enigma and is a complete alien, as we know, then yeah, in actual fact, it's his third. He dropped even more time in the last sector, so he dropped that time that he had over Keithley, so that's not a brilliant lap by Carlos Martin. I don't think he'd be very happy with that.
Oh, disappointing for him. Nevertheless, if he can get a podium out from starting 24th, he can sure do it from maybe a 10th spot. However, it's now the turn of Patrick Holzman, who almost reaches 350 here. 348 to be exact. Find some decent traction coming out of the chicane. The exit of corners here being so important. Can't be underestimated. So Holzman with a 28.0 as well, despite the higher top speed. Maximizing the track. Loses a little bit of time here. I did believe he steered in quite early. Has a lot of momentum through the second Lesmo. And if he can make the sector time under the 28 seconds, he will do a nice job. He does so, 27.880. Now it's all to make it or break it in towards the last part of this track.
It really attacked to the edge of the Ascari chicane there, launched it over the final curb onto the straight. Really giving it everything here, Holzman. You only get one go at this in Q2, so if you muck it up, that's it. But nevertheless, he's going towards the line, and it's a good lap. It's a 23.4. That puts him into second so far. And a good lap from Patrick Holzman. Wasn't the best final sector, but not too bad at all. And I think he'll be reasonably satisfied with that.
Yeah, definitely. And now it's the turn of Patrick DeWitt, who actually is taking a pretty long time in order to get his car up to temperature and whatsoever. But it does give us a little bit of room to reflect on him, because Patrick, obviously, last year he was a happy customer of Q2, making Q2 almost every race. And well, this might be the second or third time this season he made Q2.
Yeah,
he just wants to focus and prepare entirely for this chance. And that's maybe the reason why he's taking it so slow.
Well, of course, we're using the super soft and soft tyres here, so they do heat up pretty quickly. So sometimes it's a good idea to take a slow outlap, and then you reserve the energy of the tyres and the life of the tyres, because we so often see that with the tyres this year in FSR, the first lap is always a lot faster than the laps that follow it on the flying laps. So, particularly if you're on a race stint, so he's probably just making sure that he preserves the life of those tyres. You can get them up to temperature if you're going around at a reasonable speed. You don't necessarily have to be going round full pelt. And I think that's what Patrick was doing there, showing his experience.
Yeah, does have a nice top speed of 347. Let's see what his first sector time will be. It's 28.1, so slowest so far of the lot.
But will his tyres hang on better as the lap goes on? That's the question. So maybe as the lap goes on, he'll gain some of that time back. Didn't lose an awful lot of time. It's only, well, I think it's 3/10, isn't it, to the fastest so far. But Patrick, I think, will probably be more aiming at sort of second or third place here as the DRS opens down the back straight. As he goes through 27.9, that's a much better second sector, and that's what maybe has gained him that, the saving of the life of those tyres. Very nice and neat through the Ascari chicane as he heads now towards the Parabolica.
Yeah, this will pay dividend for him. Let's see if he can maintain it during the last corner of this track, the awesomely Parabolica. Does go on the throttle early, maximizes the limits. Let's see what he can do. It's a 23.6. I expected like a 23.2 or 3, although it seems.
We apologise for the fact that you have a lack of pictures at the moment. Unfortunately, we're just having some technical difficulties. We'll probably get them back at the end of qualifying, but we'll try and guide you through as best we can in the meantime. Calames has gone up to third spot with a 1:23.449 with an absolutely superb final sector that got him that, which was a 27.3, the fastest final sector that we've seen so far in Q2, and that is what has put him up there, Chris.
Yeah, definitely. And as I just said, it's now the turn of the world champion, who has a top speed of 344 kilometers an hour. What will he do into the first sector? Will it be a 27? No, a 28.081.
That's
so
not very
House
good.
a little bit up or down, however you British like to call it. But yeah, he has to look for some extra ground here. But he's not looking that confident, to be honest. Yeah, going on towards the grass, and he's aborting the lap. Bono House making a rare mistake here.
Yeah,
and
he made
must
that
be
mistake.
furious about himself.
Sorry, Chris. Yeah, he made the mistake. He just ran wide through Lesmo 1 just slightly, and it wasn't much because it didn't cost him that much time. But that just put him offline then for the second Lesmo, and that meant that he ran wide onto the gravel on the exit of Lesmo 2 and just out into the gravel there. And if you dip a wheel on that gravel, you lose all traction, and he was going to be at the back anyway. So Bono Huis not completing a Q2 lap, which is a very rare thing to see. So that is what happened there out on the back of the circuit. But it is very difficult here. We have very, very low wings, and those Lesmo turns, if they were on any other circuit, Chris, you'd want high downforce for those corners, but of course you can't have because it would compromise you too much around the rest of the lap here.
Yeah, it's always, for a racing point of view, it's always making compromises where you can get them, where you can save the best time. Now it's the job of Journey Simosic in order to make us stunned. So here he goes. Ooh, does have a little bit of trouble braking for the first corner. At a high top speed of 347, by the way.
Yeah, those go speeds set up with very low downforce this weekend. Let's have a look at the first sector, 28.0. So again, not that great. I have to say, the lap by Martin Gosby's looking pretty good at the moment.
And I hope you are with us again. Have the pictures been restored? Can everybody watch again? I most surely hope so. So Journey Simosic is coming out of Lesmo 2, carrying a lot of speed with him. So there are no pictures yet, so we still have to guide you through it. It's a 27.930 in Sector 2 for Journey.
So you will have no pictures till the end of qualifying. That's what we're being told. So we will guide you through qualifying. So at the moment, then we've got Gosby, Holzman, Calamies, De Wit, Keithley, Martin, and then Huis. That's the order. Simoncic will go through the final sector, and let's see where this puts him. He's had an okay lap. The middle sector was a lot better than the first, but it puts him up into fourth place with a 23.494. So slots between Ivar Calamies and Patrick De Wit into fourth place, and that's another completed lap, which is not good news for Huis.
Yeah, definitely. And we are coming now to the stage that the entire venue would like to see, but we can't at the moment. So here goes Morand over start-finish line. And we already know he's not up there on the top of the sheets in terms of top speed. Here he is just barely clinching 340 kilometers an hour. Makes quite a late break for turn 1, but does make a little mistake there. And this will cost him a lot, of course. Through the Curva Grande, or Curva Grande, how Italians maybe say it.
Oh, that's an awful first sector.
It was an awful first sector. So Morand here with a 28.2, actually being the slowest into sector 1.
And he's ragged through the Lesmos as well. This is a poor lap from Morgan Moran. We're going to have the two championship challengers near the back because he's hit the gravel again on the exit of Lesmo 2.
That Lesmo 2, he didn't lose time there. That was maximum. He might be able to make up for this. 27.955 in sector 2.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's okay, but it's damage limitation. Let's put it like that. Not being too positive of the Networks here because I'm from Networks, but clearly stating what's happening here. And
I think this will be about 5th or 4th, somewhere around there.
Nah, I think he will be in 3rd or something, but I don't think it will be pole position. Morgan Morand. So 4th, indeed 4th. So he just needed 20 thousandths more in order to get Ivar, but he didn't. So Morgan Morand with a little bit of disappointment.
Well, here we go then, David Greco, over to you.
Indeed. So the Twister racing car, known for having a great top speed here. And I don't think they will disappoint on that fact. Let's see what he can do. So remember, Netrex having the slowest top speed of the top 10. Everyone else reaching at least 344, 345, as is David Greco. And keeps it tidy, let's put it like that. So definitely wants his first sector time to be in the 27 seconds. It's going to be a 27.9, so he's relatively up there.
Still down on Gosby though. It was an amazing lap by Martin Gosby. He's still 0.3 up on anyone at this point in time, and Greco is the only man still to go. It's a huge margin that he's got, especially around a track like this where you would have thought there wouldn't be so much time to be gained. It's been so close all weekend. But nevertheless, a superb lap by Gosby. Greco is coming down through the second sector now as he heads down the straight towards the Ascari chicane. It's a very good second sector, though. Greco is now in with a chance of getting pole position if he gets a good run through Ascari, which he does. And now away down towards the Parabolica, the final corner. Will he be able to knock Martin Gosby off at the last?
Only Parabolica in between of that answer. Wow, he's looking extremely stable through there. Actually, he hugs the inside of the corner to make his way across the line in the 23.011, which means David Greco has pole position once more. And look how oh, sorry, you can't look how happy he is, but trust me, he's really happy with that. Wow.
Amazing then. So Greco and Gosby then 0.3 clear of the rest of the field, which is a very worrying thing. So the Twister cars, excellent to be honest there. Morgan Moran saying that is 1 second off his PB that he didn't qualify. It was strange though, because there were, when we went into qualifying yesterday in Ace, everybody was quite a long way off their personal best from practice. For whatever reason, during qualifying, it seems to give up some of that grip, Chris.
Yeah, it's really weird, and I personally know that Morgan Moran, his Q2 personal best was actually way into the 22s. So yeah, poor performance by many of these drivers, as we just seen in the chat, and they are well disappointed, basically the entire top 10. However, the fact remains that David Greco with a 23.0 remains the fastest in qualifying. In the end of the day, you can claim you're the fastest, but if the time board is telling otherwise, then you don't deserve those bragging rights. So David Greco starting from pole position once more, and I'm sure he is far beyond eager to make it 2 out of 2 in 2 weeks.
Yeah, we should have pictures back for you shortly. So I believe that they're just coming back now, actually, so that's good news. So we'll have you back for the race, which is great. So thoughts then ahead while the drivers do their warm-up and get used to their setups for the race, which will be a little bit heavier due to the higher brake ducts, and of course probably higher brake discs as well. I should imagine they'll probably be slightly bigger by a couple of millimetres. It's not a huge amount, but it makes a difference, trust me. This is going to be interesting, Chris. What do you think about the race? And do you think Greco and Gosby have got too much for the rest, or do you expect the others to come back at them now? Actually, Chris has just gone away for a moment, so that's fine. We'll look at Morgan Moran, who has qualified down in 5th, and the worrying thing for him is that Chris mentioned in the qualifying section that he has got a lower straight line speed this weekend. Now, the issue with that is that he has to pass people, and he's going to be hitting the limiter in the slipstream, you would imagine, this weekend because of that shorter 7th gear, which is not going to help now that he's behind. Of course, he would have expected to be on pole. If he had been, it wouldn't be a problem because he hadn't have anyone to overtake. But now, of course, he's got to keep the setup that he had in Q2, and with that shorter 7th gear, it's going to be very difficult to pass some of the guys who have got longer first gears and 7th gears in front of him. So that's going to be interesting. Of course, they have got the aid of DRS, but that very much depends. Around here, we saw yesterday, particularly in race 2 in Ace, that quite often the cars are very bunched together. And if that's the case, well, the cars in front of him might have DRS as well, so that's going to make it very, very difficult indeed. So it's not going to be an easy race for Morgan Moran. It's unusual to have neither Moran nor Huis on the front 2 rows of the grid. I don't think we've seen that for a very long time. In actual fact, it'd be good if we could get some of our researchers on that. Maybe some of you on YouTube can have a guess as to when that was, and we'll tell you later on in the broadcast, because I imagine it's quite a long time ago. So really surprising to see neither of them on the front 2 rows of the grid. But that, of course, makes for great racing. It's certainly going to be interesting to see how they come through from the back. Bonnehuis starting down in 10th, Morgan Moran 5th. Both of them have to come through from difficult qualifying positions, it has to be said. But David Greco, continuing his good form from Indianapolis, up there on pole position and looking pretty decent in race fuel as well. He just looks so stable. Chris mentioned this. He's just able to hug the Parabolica so incredibly well, and he can take whatever line he wanted out of that in Q2, which was very impressive indeed. So he's clearly got some good grip in that car, but not losing any straight line speed for it, because I believe his straight line speed was still up there at 347. So very impressive from Greco. He's found a lot of mechanical grip in that car, even if there's no aerodynamic grip this weekend. Yeah, it's of course a few people mentioning the fact that the qualifying times weren't particularly impressive, but here at Monza, very much like Canada in fact, where I believe that the pole position time there was lower than some of the lower leagues as well, higher rather than some of the lower leagues, is because of the brake duct size. They have to do an awful lot of braking here, and of course the distance of the race is a lot more than it is in Ace or Pro, so they have to run higher brake ducts and possibly higher brake disc sizes in some cases, although I think a lot of people are just running higher brake ducts. And that means that the lap times will of course be slow, because you gain some weight from having to run those higher ducts.
But I don't think it will be that much though. I do think maybe some people are actually on brake duct 6, but I do think the majority is on 4 or 5, and the red size, well, shouldn't be above 2. Let's put it like that, with all this fresh air and long straight. But
of course the gears are longer as well, so you don't reach high revs as often, which is why Monza is not so bad on engines, because you're not actually on the rev limiter very often.
Actually, in real Formula 1, Monza is the track, of course, in real Formula 1. Almost every race except Monaco is at least 305 kilometer. In Monza you have the least fuel consumption as well, because of the low downforce.
Yeah, and the thing is as well, is if you're spending more time in higher gears, anyone who drives a manual road car will know that if you're in a higher gear you can actually save more fuel. It's known as the economical gears. The more powerful gears use more fuel, the lower gears. So of course here at Monza it works the same way, because most of the lap you're in 5th, 6th, 7th gear, which are gears that, although yes they reach higher top speeds, also use less fuel at that, because they require less momentum. And that's for somebody who's got more degrees in science than me to explain on the forums later, I've no doubt.
No. But yeah, so we are in the warm-up right now, and it's interesting to see Moran diving in towards the 126s with his super soft tire. I am not sure if the rest can follow that, or they are just, you know, making a different impression. Don't want to show the back of their tongues. However, Jim Paresis is having a nice race pace, although he has to start from the back of the grid.
Yeah, well, of course, that will have helped them in practice in some ways. I mean, that nobody wants to be starting at the back of the grid, but it means that when they were doing their testing, it's a case of, well, you've only got to set the car up for the race. Don't even worry about qualifying, because you're not going to be in it. So you just focus entirely on the race, which in some ways is going to give them a little bit of a benefit with regard to race setup, but that very much depends on how much practice other drivers have had.
Yeah, definitely.
Interesting to see that Morgan Moran's in the 26ers here. I don't know if the thing we don't know here at this point, although I am expecting 26ers to be honest at the start of the race, so that I expect is full fuel from Morgan, is you don't necessarily know what fuel they're running, because, oh dear, there's been a bit of a collision there between Kostadinov and one of the, I think it was one of the Venus Project cars, was it?
Colorado. Yeah, Kostadinov just on the back straight before Parabolica. And well, let's see what happens here. Who brakes a little bit later than Coleridge, and they collide. Epic.
Sorry, we just had a question from the YouTube chat as to why was Paresis disqualified last race. I think Chris mentioned it. He actually sped in the pit lane during the race in Indianapolis and then asked the steward to remove the penalty, because sometimes R-Factor 2 gives wrong penalties due to what it perceives as cutting.
Yeah, and
I
then
think we've mainly sorted out now.
And indeed, and he indeed asked the admin, okay, remove the penalty. It was not given to me while I deserved it. It was randomly, which it wasn't because he was speeding. And then a certain Rob van Starkenborg, you know, with his Sherlock Holmes hat on, manages to get into the stream and actually do some detective work there. And yeah, he actually made it all happen. So
it's not like you to drop people in it.
No. But I mean, it's you can never run away from the truth, and it's absolutely stunning what Rob has done by looking into the stream replay of Jim Paresis, and well, justice prevailed. So
Indeed
+1 for Rob.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, of course, the other thing is as well that other drivers who would have got more points if Jim Paresis hadn't made that not error of judgment, have made that. I don't really know how we can really make it sound better.
But out of a driver's perspective, I fully understand Jim's motivation. I mean, if you're in the highest form of battle and you're in a race, in an FSR race, in the World Championship as well, then you really you don't care about the consequences that will happen. You know, if you can get away with it, you can get away. He obviously thought about that risk, and he made the call. So
well,
out of a racer's perspective, if it was me,
I would never ever be deceptive about anything. But then again, I don't win many races, so.
No, same here. But I mean, yeah, I don't know. A real racer would, I think.
Have done what Paresis did, but there we go. It's.
I just think it shows off a tremendous will in order to win races, and I just love that.
Well, it does, but playing advocate here, surely as well though it is cheating, which is surely that's never right.
Alan Prost won the '89 World Championship by cheating with politics, so I don't know. Results are the only thing that matters to a racing driver.
Yes, he didn't get, just to be clear about this, because we've still got some confusion, he wasn't disqualified for speeding in the pit lane. He got a drive-through penalty for that, but then he asked the steward to remove the penalty because, as Chris said, he claimed it was random, which it wasn't, and that is why he was disqualified, for getting the steward to remove the penalty when it was not supposed to be removed. So he didn't serve a penalty, and that is why he was disqualified, which, of course, if you didn't serve a penalty within 3 laps, you'd be disqualified anyway. That's the way it always works in motorsport, so... he would have been disqualified anyway for not serving the penalty.
And now the race is almost about to start, and we are ready for the warm-up lap.
Sorry, Chris. David Greco very close to Morgan Moran in warm-up there in terms of the race pace. So, given that
but
Moran's
he's already in front of
fifth,
him on the grid, so.
Yeah, exactly. Given that Moran's starting 5th and Greco's 1st. You would think here that Greco has got a great chance to drive away and build a gap here before Morgan Moran gets through to 2nd place, and he could have a real chance here of back-to-back victories.
Indeed, well said, and Morgan Moran doesn't have the top speed. Remember, the Netrex cars have the lowest top speed of the top 10, so I think we would see a lot of moments where Morgan or Carlos Martin is on the back of someone, and they just can't overtake because the straight line speed is just not optimum.
Yeah, absolutely, and given where they're starting, that's not going to be terribly good. If you're out front, it's okay having that lower 7th gear, is something I mentioned a moment ago, but, you know, if you're not out front, it's a real hindrance. So then, we're going to get away on this formation lap in about 20 seconds' time. I'll give you a rundown of the order. David Greco starts on pole position for Twister Racing Team. The Twister Racing black car of Martin Gosby starts 2nd. Patrick Holzman will start 3rd for Ash Racing, a superb qualifying there for Ash Racing, who've not had much to shout about this season, but that will certainly give them a little bit more interest in the race. Ivar Calamies 4th, Morgan Moran 5th, Janusz Simoncic in 6th place. Patrick De Witt will start 7th. Faster than speed, an excellent performance by Patrick, much higher than he's been in recent qualifying sessions. Jack Keighley 8th, Carlos Martin 10th, Bono Huis 10th. He will not be happy with that, but expect him to come through as the race goes on. Dejan Kostadinov is in 11th place with Peter Berliak 12th, not a particularly great performance by him either, considering his teammates on pole. Antonio Kolarec 13th, John Eric Saxon 14th for Avid Chronic. Marcel van der Linden is 15th for the Faster Than Speed team. Then we have 16th Eros Masciuli, Adrian Rodriguez 17th, Dino Paolini 18th, Luka Oslakovic 19th, Matt Sentel 20th, Robert Rudholm will start 21st, Jim Parisis, Rob van Starkenburg, Alvaro Torres and Borja Garcia rounding out the grid because of those back of the grid starts for various reasons. So that is the grid as they make their way through the Variante della Roggia. It's an interesting chicane that, Chris, the della Roggia, because as you go through there, it very much narrows on the exit and there's a bit of gravel just off the race. We saw in the F1 race a couple of weeks ago, a week ago, that you can really end up in the gravel there quite easily.
Yeah, as Max Chilton did actually.
Did indeed.
I mean, the curbs are high, and
yeah,
like I said, there are no runoff areas here, not particularly.
David Greco then starting from pole. Will he get a better start, or will it be Martin Gosby, who he snatched pole from right at the end? The lights come on. Away they go, and it's a great start from Greco. Look at how much grip he managed to get off the line there. It's also a very good start from third from the Ash Racing car. There's a bit of smoke in the background. I think there may have been some contact, but Greco goes down in the first corner. He's going to have it into turn one from Gosby, and I think third place. There's collisions at the back. I think it's involved Patrick Holzman in the Ash Racing car, who was right up there at the start, so that's a real shame. Trying to find out who else was involved in that.
Well, Patrick DeWitt got squeezed in between two cars, and the inevitable thing happened, and a car was launched up on top of the air. And Bono now getting into real traffic here.
He's actually dropped a position. He's 11th.
And there's a massive crash on the back of the field. Jim Parisis has hit the barrier. Patrick Holzman is out of the race. So there goes the Ash Racing story. And
it's a real shame that, because he started third. It looked so good. Van Starkenburg has left as well. He didn't. I don't think he even started, did he?
He did.
Oh yes, he did. Yeah, he's out there in 22nd. I couldn't see his name, but yes, he did start. Greco, look at the lead he's pulled out already.
Out indeed. Sorry, Van Starkenburg is indeed out. So DNF for Rob van Starkenburg and Holzman, unfortunately.
Weiss is struggling to get past people as well. He just passed Berliak and immediately got passed back, so it's not really working for Weiss at the moment. David Greco has an 8/10 lead already, which is fantastic, because another lap before they get DRS, he may well be outside the zone by the time it comes to that. So Greco really flying at the moment. Calamise is starting to get onto the back of Martin Gosby. Morgan Moran, though, is over a second behind Calamise, surprisingly, so he's actually outside the DRS window when they come around again in a lap's time. They come through the sector 1 here, and Greco, well, Gosby's narrowed the gap slightly now, down to just under 8/10.
And there's instantly a gap created for the top 4, and the the 5th driver, Carlos Martin, at this moment is leading the pack behind him. And well, definitely some action through that first corner. And although it is Monza, you know, it's really unfortunate for some, especially for Holzman.
Calamise having a much better race than his teammate at the moment, it has to be said. He's really doing very well indeed up there in third position, whereas Bono Huis is already 7.7 seconds behind the leader, and he's not all that close to Berliak at the moment, so he's just over half a second behind, so he's probably not going to make a move from there. Greco has broken the DRS window. He's over a second ahead of Martin Gosby, and that could be crucial.
And the thing about Bono, he actually lost one place. He started on 10th spot and he's now in 11th. And indeed, Greco has found the clear air he has been looking for after this start. And indeed, sublime first gear setup by Greco.
It is worth remembering that Huis has started on the soft tyre rather than the super soft, though, so that is worth bearing in mind. Although, having said that, the difference in time shouldn't be that much around here, because there's only 8 corners, so there's not a lot to lose in grip.
It's that little bit of something. Definitely 7-8 tenths of difference, I'm sure.
So we expect to lose time. There probably will only be 1 stop today. I can't see anybody doing. Well, there might be 2 stops.
2 stops. I think 2 stops.
It's in actual fact in Formula 1 here they used hard and medium tyres, so we're going quite aggressive here. But I think that was very conservative from Pirelli, to say the least. So as they go through the second sector here now, 1.6 seconds. Greco really pulling out this lead massively now. I don't know how he's so much faster than everybody else. It's very impressive, this Chris. Greco has really found something in these last couple of races that has enabled him to really take the fight to the rest of the field and do almost Moran style, pulling off into the distance at the moment.
Yeah, David Greco obviously working for Codemasters here to make F1 2015 a success. Might be the simulator they have there. I don't know.
Maybe he's getting, mind you, if we were using F1 2015, I suppose, which we don't.
No. Stop it right there.
The inside information.
Stop. No, we're not going to use any Codemasters game.
No, we're not.
Okay, going back to the
But don't
race.
let Greco hear that, because he might be offended.
Oh, I don't care. Morgan here into fourth spot is looking like Ivar Calames and Martin Gosby are pulling away a little bit from the French guy. Ivar threatening Gosby.
The only problem for Bono Huis at the moment as well is he's on soft tyres, but he's not the highest placed car on soft tyres. The guy who passed him at the start, Dejan Kostadinov, is also on soft tyres. He's in 9th place, so Huis is not even in the best position for a car on soft tyres at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. And he's getting stuck a little bit behind Peter Briljak. Peter Briljak obviously knows how to defend and having that super soft tyre advantage. I don't hope for the world champion that he will get too much stuck behind him, but I am afraid of it.
You know, he's already 9 seconds behind Greco, who's in the lead. I think that, to be honest, the way things are going, I'm surprised that Morgan Moran hasn't challenged more. He's up behind Calames now, but we've mentioned the problem before. He's not going to have that long 7th gear, which means it's going to make it a lot more difficult.
And the 27.469 is the time of Greco, and Gosby actually 1/10 under that. That's nice for the British guy.
As just waiting to see Kostadinov under attack from Peter Briljak into turn 1. I don't think Briljak will make that stick round the outside though, so those positions will stay as you were. But Briljak did get a run on the car on Kostadinov down the straight, but Kostadinov had enough to hold on to it into turn 1.
Indeed. And as Martin Gosby and Ivar Calames are battling each other a little bit, it allowed Morgan Moran to gain a little bit of time on them. Interesting to see that Moran takes the first Lesmo into 4th gear. And he instantly loses the time he just gained. So, but behind him it's Carlos Martin with a 3-4 second gap towards the leading pack.
Sorry, Chris. Kostadinov has been off at the De La Roja chicane, which is the one we were on about earlier on, and has been passed by Peter Briljak and Bono.
He gets past. Yeah, he just got past by Bono, but Bono almost losing the car there. Brilliant save from the world champion. Can't say anything more, but also a tiny mistake there.
And he's got Kostadinov and Van der Linden hanging around like vultures behind him, so any other mistakes and they'll be... Kostadinov looking a little bit ragged though on those tyres.
Yeah. I don't know what happened there, but he maybe has a flat spot already, I don't know, but definitely not up to pace, and now gets under pressure by Marcel van der Linden. However, the Aventa SimRacing car is looking tremendously fast on a straight line and actually brakes rather late.
He does,
not
but
too
he's
late
tightened
though.
up the chicane, and that'll give Van der Linden a run as they go through the next corner down towards the De La Roja chicane, where Kostadinov, as we know, has already had problems. So Van der Linden in the slipstream. Is he going to find the inside? Where is he going to go? Marcel van der Linden, look. Yeah, it is. Patrick de Witt has now re-caught Carlos Martin for 5th place because he's pulled away again from Simoncic, who's behind. Simoncic, I don't think it was Simoncic that was behind before, so I don't quite know what's... Have we lost somebody?
I am not sure.
Well, anyway, Patrick de Witt then now up into 6th place, and he's closing down on Carlos Martin. That gap is currently down to 0.8 of a second, and he's got 1.3 over the car behind. So that has really helped him this weekend. Patrick de Witt is looking pretty strong. It has to be said, up there in 6th place. He hasn't been there for a while, so it's nice to see him back up towards the front of the pack. David Greco at the front has a 2.6 second lead. Morgan Moran is close to Calames again.
And Bono still fighting on the edge of the top 10, actually in 10th place. But nevertheless, he is on the softer compound. He might be able to jump the others once they go into the pits for their first regular pit stop. However, that moment is not coming for at least 5 more laps, I think. I do think the majority will do around 12 to 15 laps on this first fresh super soft tire.
And in the case of Bono, of course, a lot longer, although he's already 13 seconds behind the lead, so it's not helping him. He's lost well over a second a lap at the moment, being stuck back there in traffic. It was interesting, Morgan Moran had the DRS there, but the problem he's got is that Ivar Calames is also in the DRS zone of Martin Gosby, so he didn't close at all. If anything, he lost ground.
Yeah. He has to capitalize on a mistake because he doesn't have the top speed. He can only follow Martin and Calames at this moment.
Well, the good news for him is he's going to look at the timing screens, and if he's checking through the timing screens, he will probably know that it's amazing how much these drivers can do while they're driving along, that Bono Huis is down in 10th place. So the good news is he's still gaining points from a championship point of view, which at this stage of the season is what Morgan's got to be thinking about.
Yeah, sure, but I don't think it will compromise his determination to win in that aspect. I'm sure he will notice it when he sees Bono. And maybe uses his head a little bit more in certain situations than maybe last year. But yeah, I think he will be purely focused to get a nice podium spot. But Greco is just flying so far. I can't even say he's looking for a win, Morgan Moran, because Greco is so far away already.
It's been nice to see how this season's been played. We know Moran has been dominant at some races, but the fact is we've had in the 8 rounds 4 different winners, which is very nice to see in the 8 rounds prior to today. So it just shows you how competitive FSR is.
And Briljak now with Keithley challenging, and Keithley going for the dive was definitely a nice call from him. But Briljak just outbraking him, and Peter is actually holding on to 8th spot. But brilliant opportunity for Keithley. He took it with both hands. Unfortunately for him, Briljak, like I said, outbraked him.
Yeah, he was very trusting from Petter though, wasn't it? He came back across in the braking zone once he knew he'd cleared Keithley. You've got to be very trusting that the other driver's not going to outbrake himself slightly, because otherwise you're going to hit up the rear. So that was very trusting there from Briljak in Keithley's skills, but of course Jack Keithley's been around. He's a very experienced FSR driver. You wouldn't expect him to make a mistake like that, and Briljak clearly there with full trust in Jack Keithley's driving ability.
Indeed, so we have David Greco leading behind that in pure fashion. Behind that, with a few seconds to spare, is Martin Gosby, Calames and Morant. And behind that there's a pack of Carlos Martin, Patrick de Witt, Jeremy Simonsis, Briljak, Keithley and even Huis still. So the top 10 divided by 3 different places at this moment.
David Greco with a 4-second lead, and believe it or not, we're 10 laps down already. That's how quickly Monza goes. You cover so much pace, so much distance so quickly because you're at the high speed all the way. And a 4-second lead for Greco. Gosby, Calames and Moran all with 0.5 of a second each between each other. Very neat, very tidy.
Indeed. And interesting to see as well, and like you pointed out earlier in the broadcast, that the difference in terms of DRS isn't as humongous as you might think of Monza, as shown by Gosby and Calames. When I mean, Calames has had every lap of DRS the past 7 laps, and twice a lap actually, and he isn't getting closer by Gosby for a bit. So.
And this is to do with the low downforce, because even, I mean, in myself in tests the other day, even without DRS, you can still reach 337, 338 at the end of the straight. So you're only gaining about 8 kilometers an hour with the DRS open. So that's why the gain isn't as much.
We are going to see our first pit stop out of the top 5, because Carlos Martin just put his pit in light on, and I assume he will dive into the pits instantaneously.
Wouldn't be surprised if Patrick came in soon as well, because he dropped away and back into the clutches of Simoncic a little bit. But no, he's continued round.
Carlos is continuing on, so he might come into these next few laps. But that's what I expected, like around the lap 12, lap 15, that the guys with super soft will come.
Simoncic has overtaken De Witt down into turn 1, but he's over-braked himself. He's done a Rosberg, and he's gone straight on, and that's going to lose him time. He's going to drop behind Berliak. He might drop behind Keithley as well. Let's see. Yes, he does.
And Bono now with a better exit. I don't think he will be capitalizing on that, but he will definitely get closer. And Journey Simoncic has to start over again in terms of getting into the groove, you know. Oh, and there's Patrick De Witt with Peter Berliak. They collide! What's happening, guys? Even still! And Jack Keithley here being pushed off by Patrick because, not intentionally, but because of that accident. I mean, if we can take a look on board on the replay with Patrick, we see Patrick diving into the chicane and Berliak weaving around a little bit, and Keithley just getting collected there by what happened in front of him. Very unfortunate for him, but very fortunate for Bono, who momentarily finds himself into 7th spot because of all those crashes. But,
yeah, I think Patrick lost it under brakes, didn't he? He hit the brakes too hard down into De La Roggia, and that meant that he snapped sideways, and then that, of course, with Berliak being there, it meant he hit Berliak. Huis, meanwhile, says thank you very much. He's now up into 7th place, gains 3 places without having to do anything. But Van der Linden now all over his teammate, and De Witt comes into the pit lane, unsurprisingly, because I think those tyres were starting to go. Greco has also been in the pit lane.
So is Greco, and so is Huis. So Huis actually pits on the same lap.
Why is Greco's pit stop so long?
It's... wow!
It's way too long.
What's happening here with David Greco? He's still stationary in the pit, and he's going out. So he might...
well, Huis has gone. Huis has already exited the pit, so Greco has lost maybe 6-7 places here, probably more.
He lost about 18 seconds staying stationary into the pits, and I think, look, I don't know if he had some damage, but the logical explanation. He had no
front wing, we're hearing, so he's obviously lost his front wing somewhere on the way round to that last lap. There was a crash as well with Luka Oslakovic out of the Ascari chicane. He is now out of the race. All this means that Calames now leads the race for Precision Motorsports. So could we maybe see our 5th different winner of this season in only 9 races? Wow. Who said FSR was not competitive anymore, and there's always one driver running away with it.
Oh my god. David Greco drove across some debris and actually made a 1080 flip and almost collecting Gosby and Calames. Gosby doing a terrific impression of Kvyat. But just because David Greco drove across a 1 centimeter piece of some car, he gets flying into the air and basically loses any competitiveness out of this race. And this is so sad to see a racer of this caliber being destroyed by basically a piece of digital carbon that lies on the track, but R-Factor thinks it's a humongous wall.
Yeah, anyway, David Greco then, that's really unfortunate for him because he was driving so well. Maybe we do need safety cars after all.
But this is messed up, man. This is really messed up. I mean, with the debris still lying on the track, we might see similar situations as we just seen with Greco.
Yeah, it's definitely something we need to look at, but the problem is, what do you do? Because
if we can go on board with Carlos Martin a little bit, it's around here. Debris did lie around here.
I think it clears itself after a while though, because it has an auto clean mechanism, so I think it's gone now. It will have been from the accident that happened just before with Oslakovic on the exit of the Ascari chicane when he piled into the wall. That will be where the debris came from, and that's what Greco hit.
Calames is in. So he pits, and he is going to which tire? He's going to the soft tire, which is the harder compound, super softs and softs this weekend. So yellow stripes are the harder compound. And Ivar making his way back onto the...
He's going to be behind Gosby though. He is.
Sure
Martin Gosby goes in front, so Gosby has jumped Calames by pitting a lap earlier. Won't be happy with that. Bono Huis has already been into the pit lane, bizarrely,
Yeah.
because he was on the harder tyre. I'm surprised at that, because Kostadinov is still lapping, and he's actually in front now of the battle for the lead on those harder tyres, just in front of them.
Yeah, well,
Patrick
maybe
de Wit's out.
Yeah, no surprise there after those collisions. But maybe Bono was thinking, okay, I have to. I'm not really feeling that confident on the softer compound. He does have the compound out of the way. He can drive the remainder laps of this race with super softs. So he might just do that.
He might do, but we're thinking that the super softs last about 22 laps. So based on at a push. So based on that, it's going to be very difficult for him to get to the end of the race with just one more stop, isn't it?
Sure is.
I suspect that he may have to go onto the harder compound again, but if he feels comfortable, oh my goodness me, he had a real moment there on the exit of the Ascari chicane here, and he hit the gravel. It's okay running wide out of there.
We are going into the pit as well.
That was very wide.
So Marcel van der Linden now actually driving in second place, not having made his regular pit stop, his first regular pit stop of this afternoon. And he's still looking confident on his set of tires. So Ivar Kalame is now behind Dejan Kostadinov. If he can go on board with Ivar, does the car of him has the top speed? Here goes the precision on towards the inside and out brakes him beautifully. Definitely done out of the book here. Ivar Kalame is making his way up to 4th.
Yeah, and that was a textbook manoeuvre, and he needed to do that because Martin Gosby had already passed, and he was going to lose too much time otherwise. So, goodness knows who's going to win this race. We thought it'd be Greco initially when he was pulling away so much. Now it's very much a 3-horse race.
Sorry, but Eras Mascoudi on towards the first Lasmo, he makes a mistake. And he might even have a problem with his car because Carlos Martin is passing him instantaneously as well. Nevertheless, Bono after his pit stop is on the super soft tires and he is now into 8th. So definitely this choice works for him.
Yeah, he had a pretty slow middle sector, but of course that was because of Masciuli's mistake. Moran is now in the pit lane, so where does he come out? So that's the question.
That's the question indeed. Not before Marcel van der Linden and also not in front of Gosby or Ivar. Not even in front of Dejan.
No, so he's going to have to pass Kostadinov as Gosby passes van der Linden for the lead.
No, he does not, because he gets collected and he's actually onto the curb. Doing a very messy job. He has to be careful not to touch Ivar. But Ivar makes his way up to 2nd place, capitalizing on that mistake of Gosby. However, Gosby is not done with him. Ivar's not defending the inside. However, he doesn't need to do it because he was basically saying to Gosby, this is my corner. You made the mistake one corner earlier. I don't care. And Gosby is instantly dropping.
Van der Linden, I think, the last to pit. Oh no, Kostadinov as well, but he's on the harder tyre.
He's leading the race.
He's on the harder tyre and he's leading the race. And that means that he's ahead of Kostadinov, who's on the same strategy. Moran is now up the inside of Kostadinov. Van der Linden looking pretty good. Of course, we know that the FTS cars don't have the greatest of straight line speeds, but nevertheless, it's looking okay at the moment for Van der Linden. Doesn't look too bad down that.
He does have his pit light on, so he might go into the pits right now. But already Ivar's stint and Gosby's stint are well compromised, let's put it like that. As Van der Linden instantly pits, gives the lead back to Ivar Kalame. This is his chance. This is your time to shine, Ivar. You're leading the race. You don't have to do another pit stop at this moment. It's all your call.
I'm just wondering if Van der Linden, I hope not, but he looked very sharp on the brakes into the pit stop. I hope he didn't get down to speed too late, because if he did, he might have to come through for a drive-through. But he really had it locked up coming into the pit, so let's hope that he got the speed down in time. By the way, Bono Huis is now 4th.
Yeah, indeed. With the other guys making their compulsory pit stops, he is actually up towards the 4th position. So he's doing a great job. So lap 17 at the moment out of 53.
Lap 18, I believe. I think it's...
Oh yeah, this is the 18th.
Yeah.
Let's put it like that.
Shows the
17 completed,
laps.
and yeah, that's... So, and Peter Briljak also in the top 10, but at the moment 6th position. Now Jack Keithley almost making contact to Eros Mascouli. They are onto the back straight, and Jack Keithley can open his DRS. However, the top speed of Mascouli is enormous. He actually breaks down. Eros Mascouli breaking down for the corner and saying to Jack Keithley, you can have this position, I'm going to pit.
Yeah, he's going very slowly at the moment, is Mascouli. You can only assume he's coming into the pits this time.
Ooh, and Martin Gosby here on towards Morgan Morant. A lot of things happening at the same time. So what did we miss there? Sorry for it, but here's Martin Gosby reclaiming the position out of the top speed difference. But here comes Morgan Morant. Slides it through, late braking Tilden Mac. And Morgan Morant shows you how it's done.
You know what happened there? Morgan Moran looked at his timing screens and saw plus and the gap to 4th place, B. Weiss, and thought, I better get on with this. And decided he was going to make a move before getting scared by the fact Bono's coming up behind him.
Yeah, but Morgan actually made a move on Gosby into the Parabolica. And then Gosby overtook him on the straight, and then Morgan brilliantly dived and braked so late. I mean, tremendous driving and opportunistic as well, and he has to do it because of his top speed. Because Martin Gosby and Ivar Calames is clearly having the advantage over the French man. So Bono Huis getting pressured off Carlos Martin at the moment. It's not looking the case that Bono is decreasing the gap between him and Gosby. It's rather the case that Carlos Martin is challenging Bono for 4th spot.
You know, the fastest man on circuit at the moment, though, I think is David Greco, who is now, he went down to 18th, he's back up to 11th already.
Oh my god, I feel so bad for him, man. I feel so bad for that.
Oh, in turn 1, Morgan Moran had a look at Ivar Calames, and that was very close indeed, but Calames covered it off. But Moran is flying all of a sudden. He senses his opportunity now that Greco is no longer in the lead of this race a few seconds up the road. He has an opportunity here, and Morgan Moran goes to the inside for De La Rogia, does he?
Ooh,
yes,
he
he does. Oh, he nearly hit him. He nearly hit Calames around.
He actually gets collected.
He got collected by Calames.
Yeah, but that's not the right formulation. I do think that was a little bit too opportunistic from Moran to take a dive right there. Although the room was there, I think it's a really tough call. But if I have to blame someone, it would be Moran.
It certainly was an opportunistic move, and but nevertheless, Calames just turned in and hit the back of him. So probably a little bit of fault on both cars there, which is unusual. We don't normally have.
Yeah, but he
was a very bold
Calames
move,
didn't steer in quite early. Calames actually waited with steering in, and if he would have waited any longer, he would have gone straight as well. So there was no other option for him. I'm just happy I'm not the admin that needs to make the penalties here. But fortunately, both can continue this battle. With Morgan Morant already being punished severely in terms of time. His lap time is now at 30.6. And he actually has a lot of catching up to do once more. And he can only hope that Martin Gosby is fast enough to make life a little bit harder for Ivar. Because they can battle it out and Morgan can come close once more. However, he has to be careful that Bono Huis isn't coming too close though.
Well, Calames, Martin Gosby up front, 6/10 between them. Morgan Moran is now 2.3 seconds behind after that incident with Calames a couple of laps ago. And unfortunately just outbraked himself into the... Oh, is that off? I think that's Gosby's off. He's hit the wall on the exit of the Lesmos, I believe, has he? Doesn't look to have sustained any damage, but he certainly span out of the second Lesmo, and he came very close to hitting the wall, was very lucky not to.
Yeah, lucky, I would call it skill, but surely. Nice job from Gosby on not making a mistake going fatal. But yeah, definitely a lot of drivers onto the maximum. Otherwise they wouldn't make mistakes like this. And they really have to fight for each and every inch on the track.
Well, this race
Calame's
really
now
is incredible so far. We've had
Yeah.
so much action and so many incidents. I don't think there's one driver that's not made a mistake at some point during this race. And we're only 22 laps in.
Indeed, and I think if Ivar can turn some heads here with a victory, that would be brilliant for him. I mean, he's one of the precision drivers that has been into the shadow of Bono this year. Let's be honest, and I think for him a win would mean so much that I would really feel happy for him. Although he still has to earn it, because there's a certain French guy right behind him, and that certain French guy is rather fast.
Yeah, of course, it wouldn't be Calame's first win. He's won twice before. Last year he won at Silverstone, and the year before he won in Korea. And there is 2 World Championship wins to date, so this would be his 3rd.
Let's see that.
So, yeah, so 2 wins already to Calame's name in World Championship, so looking for a 3rd today, but he has got Morgan Moran behind him. It's 1.6 seconds at the moment, though, and of course the crucial thing about that means that Moran will not have DRS, so Calame's can use his straight line speed. We know the Netrex doesn't have the greatest straight line speed, so at the moment that's going to be working to Calame's benefit, although Moran closed down at 3/10 in that final sector, so certainly at the moment going quicker. Can Calame's hold on to it? Will Moran be attacking him again shortly? Of course, the last time it nearly ended in tears. Let's hope that they're a little bit cleaner about it this time.
Yeah, although I must say it was a move of Moran that you would have expected. Ivar didn't, as he would obviously wouldn't do now. He didn't drive or drove a particularly defensive racing line, and to someone that is less within 2 or 3 tenths behind you, that is basically saying, hello, my door's open, just come in. But yeah, there wasn't too much room on track there. Nevertheless, they are still driving, and well, I'd rather see that than seeing Greco drive onto a piece of cardboard and his car goes into the air. But yeah,
I hope these cars aren't made of cardboard. That would really be a bad crash structure. Anyway, Calame is 1 second now ahead of Moran. Moran's really taking the time out of him.
The cars are made from 1s and 0s.
They are indeed, but we pretend it's real, Chris. Pretend it's real.
Well, it is a real virtual world, and if you really think that these guys can push it up a notch and can do better, I would certainly advise you to get on FormulaSimRacing.net, get a go in a car, and see how you do on 200 liters and driving a 126.5. But yeah, it's hard. It's really hard.
And let's not forget as well, just as another plug, that somebody who did race in FSR a few times a season or 2 ago, Stoffel van Doorn, is now the McLaren test driver and is being talked about for a Formula 1 drive. So it obviously doesn't hurt.
He won't get a Formula 1 drive though.
No, I suspect the rumours are probably false, not yet anyway, but certainly Van Doorn there in the test drive, and of course he would be immediately in the car if anything, any injuries to any of the main drivers. So it just shows.
Well, certainly a successful
some
driver.
Big guys have competed in FSR in the past. I think we had David, I've forgotten his name now, but there was a champ car driver that used to drive here as well. David Martinez, is that his name, I believe?
No, I don't know.
He drove a couple, I think 1 or 2 races here as well, so, in the past. So really has seen some drivers over the years as FSR. And Calame's and Moran now, though. Moran has gained 0.8 of a second in this lap alone. I don't know if Calame's tyres are going off or whether Moran's just found some speed from somewhere, but he's certainly finding the pace now as they come down to the Parabolica. And if he gets a good run out of here, he's going to have a great chance down into turn 1 into Rettifilio.
He won't. He certainly won't. I don't want to be pessimistic or anything, but he just doesn't have the top speed. I mean, crossing the finish line, Calame is already up, and he is getting a little bit towards him now, but that will just edge out.
Weiss is in the pits again. Right, so Weiss is turning this into at least a 3-stop, the way things are going.
Yeah, he already did 2, so I would think he would go on a 4-stop then. If he had...
I can't imagine, I think 4-stop would be too slow.
No, he will, because he's on the Super Soft now. He won't do 28 laps on the Super Soft. So he will make 1 more stop, so a 4-stopper for the World Champion.
Which would be 3, wouldn't it? I thought he'd only done 2 so far.
Did he? Oh, I thought that this was his 3rd. then it's my mistake.
Well, I hope not, but if it is, then he's going blindingly quick in 25 laps to be in 4th place. But
yeah, no, sorry, my bad call, But he has to make one more, so a 3-stop it will be indeed.
Yeah, and now out of Lesmos, Moran has now got right onto the back of Ivar Calames, and this is going to be a big opportunity, is it? Down into the Ascari chicane. He glances to the inside, but thinks better of it. I think it was always going to be difficult to make a move there, but the problem he's going to have now is he's actually lost a bit of time now through the Ascari chicane because of the dirty air there. You do lose a bit of aerodynamic grip. He's gaining it back pretty quickly, though, down towards the Parabolica. But you suspect unless he gets a really good run off the Parabolica, we've seen that it's not very easy for Moran with his top speed to make a move into Redifilio, so it's probably going to have to be in turn 3 at the earliest.
Yeah, but he might get close enough this time to pull alongside. Ivar must sure be awake that the Frenchman is eager to make a dive in. He witnessed that on the front row some laps ago, but he certainly woke up from that. You can already see Ivar going defensive here, and this is what we want to see, covering off the inside line that won't allow Moran to make a move in the first place. Moran pressuring him with each and every rule in the book.
He's doing the old psychological move of moving around in the mirrors. I'm not entirely sure how much that works with drivers, but a lot of them do it, and you just see them moving around, just trying to distract
here he comes
the car
though.
in front.
Here he comes though, even with the DRS. Here he comes, pulls alongside to Ivar, who doesn't make any attempt to make a defensive line, but sticks to the outside. Moran goes sideways, but keeps it brilliantly, and the order hasn't changed. But I see what Ivar did there. He thought, if I can stick it to the outside, I will get the inside corner and I will have him.
Just keeping an eye on Buisa's gap to the front. He is closing in at 1.2 seconds a sector at the moment. I tell you what, this might be a good move. He's already down to 21.4 seconds, and the more that Moran and Calames battle, of course, the more time he's going to gain on them. So that's the key. Moran,
here it comes.
Down into the first chicane. No, not going to happen. He just hasn't got the top speed for that move, has he?
No, but he surely has the motivation to make a move. That's for sure. And let's see, it's tremendously close.
I'm going to say that Bono Huis is going to win this race because he was 3 seconds faster than these two on the last lap on the new tyres. That is an incredible amount. 3 seconds that he gained on 1 lap alone. If he keeps doing that, he's going to be back with them before they've even made a pit stop.
Well, you say Bono, then I say Ivar.
There we go. So neither of us from Moran. There's an interesting one, but Moran still can't make that move. We're not as close this time as they went down that straight and into the Ascari chicane, and he just couldn't make the move stick. We're over halfway through this race now, and as they head towards the Parabolica, Moran is trying everything, but at the moment none of it's working. He's going to have to find himself some more tools, I think.
He sure has. And he is sticking rather close here to the Parabolic. Would this be the opportunity that he has been waiting for? DRS is open. He does find himself now in a little gap of having a higher top speed, but it's getting edged out once more.
Carlos Martin has just come into the pit lane. Marcel van der Linden, unfortunately, is out of the race, so that's really unfortunate for him. We saw him running strongly, even leading the race for a couple of laps earlier on. So unfortunate for Marcel that he's now out of the race. Greco, by the way, is now up into 8th place.
Good job, Greco.
He's got back to 4 points now, which is quite a recovery from where he was earlier on, down to 19th at one stage. But Morgan Moran now just dropping away a little bit, if anything, from Calames. I don't know if that's just because he got too close, decided to take a bit of a breather and then come back at him. Sometimes you'll see drivers do that. They get out of the dirty air a bit, put a really strong lap in, and then use that momentum to pass the guy in front.
Well, I'm going to tell you who's going to pass the guy in front. It's certainly Bono Huis on Kostadinov and Jack Keithley in a moment. Because, as we just said, he's flying on this, rather new set of super soft tires. But he's just eating away the differences sector by sector, corner by corner. And he surely has to. He surely has to. Certainly if he has one more pit stop to make. He has to make this stint work for him.
He does, but he's already taken out 8 seconds out of the leaders in that stint, and Carlos Martinez has gone off the circuit, has he?
No. That would be
okay,
really
it's
unfortunate.
Just his timing disappeared off my screen there for a moment, so don't quite know what happened there.
Here comes Bono. I hope we are still on board with him. In front of him is Dion Kostadinov of the Aventa SimRacing car, who's looking for a great result in. But wow, look at the top speed. They both have DRS, going almost 3 wide here. But Bono goes for the inside and makes the move stick. Greatly done from Bono. Greatly done. Out of the book. Now here's
Keithley will just let him pass, we know that, so...
Yeah.
Oh, maybe not.
Maybe not. I don't know.
He's surprising us. There we go, and no, in the end he does, and just backs off quite early, and that lets Huis through very easily indeed. So Huis now up into 4th place.
Yeah, well, I do think Keithley knows of himself. Okay, I can maybe hold Bono up for 1 or 2 laps, but, you know, eventually I'll let him through. And, of course, if you have to respect the driver, it's certainly Bono in terms of performances. And I mean, he's still the world champion and the champion of FSR. That won't change. So
yeah, Morgan Moran at the moment 2 tenths behind, but he just cannot find that way past Calames, and it's not working out for him at the moment. And I don't know if he knows that Huis is closing down yet, but he's closing down at quite a rate.
Yeah. Well, at the moment it's perfect for Huis that Calames and Morand are battling it up. But if, and that's an if, Calames and Morand only have to do 1 more stop, then that would mean that Huis still has to do some closing up.
He basically has to close down those 15 seconds, doesn't he?
Yeah.
At the moment it is pretty much as they are, with 1 stop each to go.
But the most important thing about this all is that Ivar is on the soft compound and Morgan is on the super soft. Morgan still has to switch to the soft tires, I believe. And Ivar and Bono can just go to the super softs once more.
Yeah, he does. Very good point. So this is not working out at all for Moran. He needed to get past Calames a while ago, and it's all as a result of having that short 7th gear. And it's a calculated risk that you take. Moran would probably have used that shorter 7th gear, because if he'd have been up front and on pole position, it probably would have been a benefit. But because he's behind, it has really affected him, and that's a risk you take. Personally, I think it's too risky to take that shorter 7th gear on the basis that you're going to get pole position, because anything can happen, particularly when you've only got 1 lap to get it in Q2.
It's just 1 click, and the others made 1 click more. But yeah, at the moment 27.2.
But it does seem to be making a big difference, that 1 click, it has to be said.
Surely. So 27.2 for Morand and a 25.5 for Bono.
He's now just 13.7 seconds behind them. These two are going to have to get a move on, because otherwise Huis is going to be there. And I suspect as well, and I think that any good team would do this, to be honest, at this point. This is not a criticism at all, but if Huis gets past Moran, then Calames will let him through to the championship, surely.
So Morgan has his pit light on right now, and I do think he will go to the soft tires and end this race with 21 laps remaining.
Which will easily be done. I think you could probably do it from here on the super soft, so I don't think the soft should be a problem. I mean, the super soft would be a bit second hand, it wouldn't pass its MOT at the end, but you could nevertheless, I think you could probably do it from here, so soft tyres should not be a problem from this distance.
Can't go to super soft because he has to be in terms with the tire regulations that say you have to use both compounds. But however, like I said earlier, Calames and Huis won't have to follow that, because they already have the soft tire on their car right now, or had it in an earlier stint. So let's see if he is going to the pit. Yes, he sure is. Braking as late as possible, Morgan Moran. Let's see about this pit stop. Gosby is in as well. So Morgan on toward the soft tire.
As Bono goes past. So yeah, Morgan Moran now on the soft tire. So now he needs a good lap, because he can jump Calames if he gets a good lap in. But the problem he's going to have is Jack Keithley's going to be right in front of him, and that's pretty much ruined that.
I'm curious to see how much laps Ivar will do. I think he will take the minimal window that will appear. Maybe he will come in the next 3 or 4 laps, maybe even 5, but he wants to come in ASAP to remain in front, because Morgan is eating away his difference at the moment. Bono is still eating away his difference. They still have to pit, except Morgan, of course. And well, this is going to be decided purely on strategy.
Yeah, with regard to the guys who started from the back at the beginning of this race, you remember Alvaro Torres, Jim Paresis. Paresis is 15th.
Sorry to interrupt. Morgan Morant is now on Jack Keithley still, and with the DRS and the fresher tires, climbing up towards the gears, made it possible for Morant to overtake relatively easy. And he's now on to fresh air, and he has a 5 or 6 second gap to Bono, and with Bono having to make one more pit stop, this could be interesting indeed. And Ivar, well, Ivar has to just go into the pits as soon as possible, because Morgan is now eating away the difference.
Yeah,
just
it's
like
half
Bono
a second in that sector, and as Martin now has a go at Jack Keithley.
Martin on the inside.
Yeah, it's got up the inside, so that should be job done. Down into turn 1, and it is. And Carlos Martin goes up into 4th place. Jack Keithley now down to 5th. So Keithley having lost 2 places in the space of a couple of corners.
Yeah, and Morgan Morand and Carlos Martin now shot in one picture. The 2 Networks cars aiming for a podium here. But on which step, that is still not sure. And how is David Greco doing? He's still in 8th spot. I mean,
I suspect he has damage, quite severe damage, because his fastest lap was on lap 2, and you would be going faster now if you didn't have damage. So
he does have his pit light on as well, David Greco. So let's see now. Jack Keithley has his pit light on as well, and so does Ivar Kalames. So Ivar Kalames is going to try to finish the race with 19 laps remaining, I believe, although he is still going for it. So he just put on his pit stop light, and he might go into the pits the next lap. So Kalames just did a 27.415, and Morant does a 25.3. Wow. So that's 2 seconds.
Yeah, surprising the tyres are actually helping more. We thought that people would go for the minimal amounts of stops, but the tyres are helping here with times an awful lot more than we were expecting. There really is a big gap when you go onto those new set of tyres. It wasn't, from the reports that I was hearing, expected to be as much as 2.5 seconds. That is really a lot more than we thought in terms of gain. David Greco and Eros Masciuli have come into the pit lane, and they've now gone back out. Greco just outside the points again, now in 11th, but I suspect he will get back into the points. Masciuli comes out in 13th place. Bono Huis then only 8.5 seconds now behind his teammate Kalames.
Yeah, but he will lead the race pretty soon. I mean,
he will.
But he still has to pit. He still has to pit. I don't want to forget that. So Bono still has to pit, which basically would give Morant free air. I mean, he does have a 7 second gap now to Morant. But yeah, Ivar Kalames, leader of this race, is in the pit right now and going towards his last compulsory pit stop, and he's going on the super soft tires. Getting jumped by Morant though, quite severely indeed. Now though, it's the job of Ivar Kalames to make these super soft tires work. But Carlos Martin now can really destroy the stint of Ivar, because Ivar just came out of the pits behind Martin. So let's see if Martin will help his teammate severely. But effectively, Morgan is leading this race.
Because yeah, Bono leading this race, but don't forget Martin Gosby as well. He has been in this lead battle for a while as well. We mustn't forget him. He's going to be up there. Kalames has really clouted the curbs there at the Redafilio, not the Redafilio, the De La Roja chicane.
But Gosby having old tires. Ivar just pitted onto fresh super softs. So I have no doubt he will make life tremendously hard for Carlos Martin.
I think Gosby's tyres are only 2 laps old. I think he pitted 3 laps ago, so he's still fairly new.
Yeah, okay, but still super soft and soft, that difference is there. And for drivers of these capabilities, it's quite a lot of difference, of course. Let's see now. Calame is not coming any closer to Morant, or to Carlos Martin. Sorry.
I think Bono's trying to stretch this stint out as much as he can so that he can gain the time at the end on much newer tyres. He's actually pulling away slightly from Morgan at the moment, surprisingly, in that last sector. Calame's now getting close to Carlos Martin. It's a case of how long can Martin hold him up, because it will help Moran if he can for a little while.
Well, Bono basically has to pit as soon as he sees that Morant is beating him in terms of lap times. So 28.9 sector 1 for Bono and to 28.6 for Morgan, so that's 3/10. And remember, he doesn't have the top speed, Morant, so that's 3/10 Morant's already claiming from Bono.
The problem for Bono is as well, I think he's going to, at the moment, I think he'd drop out behind Simoncic, who was only 16.2 seconds behind, so I think he would drop out in 6th place at the moment if he pitted. But Simoncic is also closing on the leader, so Weiss has no choice now, really. He's not going to extend that gap enough to get out in front of Simoncic. He might as well pit.
Yeah, but this lap alone, Morgan took half a second out of Bono. So
and crucially, Calame's is still not past Martin either.
Nope. And it's really hard to pass here, even though you have new and old tires mixed up together.
And unfortunately, Alvaro Torres has had an accident and is out of the race with suspension damage. So that's really unfortunate for him. He was running well in 11th place, but he is now out of the race.
That's really unfortunate indeed.
So Moran has now got that gap down to 5.3 seconds, but Weiss goes through again and does another lap.
Calame is now on towards Martin. Martin defending the inside. Calame is braking very late indeed. Tries to take it from the outside, and what a move of Ivar. Definitely the best move I've seen today. And just takes Carlos Martin by surprise. He defended brilliantly, but Calame's just made it through on the outside.
And that's going to leave Martin susceptible as well now to Martin Gosby, who is quite close, although Carlos Martin pulls away a little bit again there now. And you can see Simoncic coming into the background. He's closing on these guys.
Carlos might be able to get a podium spot in, although that would be rather difficult at the current stand. And I really don't think that Morant will pit once more. I mean, 20 laps on a soft tire with like 70-80 liters left in the tanks should be enough, right? Should be enough.
Yep, so does Weiss come in this time?
Nope.
Let's have a look.
He has a 126.5 and Morant with a 125.5. So that's 1 second. Bono instantly flashes on his pit light, and I have no doubt he will come in this lap. But
Calame's 125.4, even with the overtake that he did on Carlos Martin, though, so he's the fastest of all of them.
Certainly, he's definitely looking for a victory here. At least a victory over his teammate Bono House, which hasn't occurred yet, I believe, this season.
No, but, I don't think it has. Yeah, Morgan Moran and Ivar Calames have both done 25.5s for the last 4 laps in a row, pretty much, which is incredible, really. Moran just dipped slightly into 25.4 on one of the laps, but it was a 4.97, so I think we'll claim that as a 25.5 as well. So they're just trading lap times. They're not. There's no difference between the gap between them.
In tactical points of view, Morant actually couldn't do a better job than he did. I mean, out of the top 10, he started on 4th place. He had the lowest, and he still has the lowest top speed of any driver. And still, he capitalized on his strategy and managed to get some drivers by surprise. When there's a massive crash in front of Morant, one of the back marks, I believe, Morant actually getting caught out of it, and not so brilliantly cuts the chicane or curve a little bit because of that, but definitely lost time. Definitely lost time there. I just don't hope for his sake he has a stopping and go or anything. So sector 1 of 30 seconds of Morant, and Calames with 28.4, because of that mistake of Morant, now gets 1.5 seconds close.
Yeah, Martin Gosby is out of the race after that collision with Carlos Martin. So that just shows, I mean, it's one of those things, it wasn't that Gosby did anything particularly wrong, but if he left Martin a little bit more room, he wouldn't have damaged his suspension and he wouldn't be out the race. So, you know, whilst it was not strictly speaking incorrect, nevertheless, if he'd have been played it a little bit safer, he would still be in this race and still getting points.
Indeed. Although the knife always cuts on two sides, I do think he could have been a little bit more careful, but nevertheless you see an opportunity as a driver and you think, okay, I have to pull it in front of him now. Just like, you know, you give a signal, a non-verbal communication saying, you know, this is my corner. You know, and some drivers back off, but...
Yeah, I've seen you giving those signals, and not particularly nice, but anyway.
So you just have to get out of my way, by the way. No, joking.
And I do. Yeah.
No, but here is... By the way, David Greco with a stunning lap at the moment. Maybe he can even do a top 5 after being on the 18th place. I surely hope so for him. He actually deserved this win the most, in my opinion, David Greco.
Yeah, fully agreed. Yeah.
But so Carlos Martin now passing a back marker here. And passing it brilliantly. I mean, we've seen earlier on in the pro race that sometimes back markers, specifically when they're named Salvat, are trying to challenge them. He actually challenged the podium contender when he was in 12th position for over 2 laps. He held him behind him. So fortunate to say that we don't see any of those situations right here. And I do think if you are outside of the top 10 and, for example, you would drive in front of Ivar Calames and hold him up for more than 1 lap, you would easily get a kick instantly off the server, you know, or get a black flag like that.
Yeah, Robert Rudholm had an interesting way of letting people pass. He just pulled onto the grass and let them squeeze through. That's an interesting way of doing it. That's
works though.
Getting out the very effective. And if you're not battling anyone else, I suppose it's the way to go.
Yeah, I do remember my first race in Monaco in, I believe, 2012 or 13 it was. And I had Bono behind me. I think, oh my god, he's coming to lap me if I mess up now, you know. But everything went well. And, well, Bono is actually on the 3rd spot and not getting closer by Ivar. What's amazing, mate?
I just think the amount of... I mean, even Morgan Moran, who leads this race, I think we've seen 3 or 4 mistakes from him during the race. It really has been a circuit that's caught drivers out during the course of today, and nobody has had a clean race today. It's going to make it very interesting when I ask you who driver of the day is, because they've all made mistakes.
The circuit is... I don't think it's particularly the circuit, it's more the drivers amongst each other that make the circuit on a specific point so hard to drive, because they're pushing each other so hard. You know, they have to extract every little bit of pace out of this car. Morgan cannot simply say with 9 laps to go or almost 8 laps to go, okay, I can do take it a little bit slower, spare a little bit of my brakes and stuff. He just basically can't, because 4 or 5 seconds behind him there's Ivar Calames trying to take his first win of the season. So the closer they get to the limit and the closer they edge each other out, obviously we would see more mistakes. But it's just brilliant to see that Morgan has to fight for every inch now, because it certainly was different at the start of the season.
Yeah, certainly was. So we have Morgan Moran leading by 3.2 seconds. He lost 2 seconds during that time when he ran wide at turn 1. There are now just 8 laps to go. I tell you what though, as Morgan Moran lost another 2/10 in the first sector, and he looked to be locking the brakes quite extensively into turn 3. Is he losing time, Moran? I think he's losing time here. It looks a lot closer. I can suddenly see Moran not far ahead of Calames. I'm just wondering if he's losing time here. I hope that he hasn't got a problem with the brakes.
Well,
but that, to me, that looks a lot closer than 3 seconds.
Let's see how he brakes. Still brakes rather normally, so...
But he's lost 4/10 on this lap already. I think he might be braking just slightly earlier. It's obviously not enough to be totally noticeable, but he's losing time here. and he's lost 4 tenths on this lap already. Bono Huis, by the way, is gaining speed at a massive margin. He's going to be with these two before the end of the race. But I think Morgan Moran here may have a problem because he's not been off the track, but he has lost 4 tenths on this lap alone. So let's have a look at the final sector. It's not so bad on brakes, this final sector. So
25.9.
No, he's lost another 3 tenths. He's definitely got an issue, Chris.
Does he? Well, I'm certainly pulling my hands on towards my hair. No, but seriously, it might be just the momentum that's catching him out. But there's certainly one thing that Morgan cannot allow, and that's if Ivar gets on towards DRS range. Because Morgan has had so much difficulties into passing these guys because of his top speed, and Ivar will just have the opposite of that. As soon as he is into the DRS speed, he will climb and climb and climb, and he will, on the full extension of every straight, he will get closer. So
yeah, David Greco is now on the back of Jene Simoncic. We'll keep an eye on that gap from Moran to Calames. Greco,
get him, David, get him.
Greco is right there, and he really has made a superb drive back after that problem earlier on, which is not of his own doing by any means at all. And David Greco now just 6 tenths of a second behind Simoncic as he comes through, and it's gone up to 7 tenths actually, but I expect that Greco with his speed will probably get past both Simoncic and maybe Keithley as well before the end of this race, as the gap has now gone down to 2.1 between Moran and Calames. Moran has definitely got a problem. He is lapping a lot slower now.
I'm not sure what the problem would be though. 26.0 for Moran and 25.1 for Ivar.
Lost a second on that lap alone.
Yeah, 9 tenths, but you would say it's the other way around because Ivar is on the super soft tires, and of course he will come back the first 10 laps, you know, but after that you would assume the tires would degrade a lot quicker than Moran's. However, the management that Calames is bringing to these tires must be sublime, because like you said, he's eating away the sector times, 28.6 compared to 28.599 from Ivar, so pretty much similar on towards sector 1. However, it does seem sector 2 and sector 3 where Ivar's making the difference count.
I think it's exactly that you say, Chris. You're absolutely right, and that is what makes me think that Morgan Moran's problem is brake related, because if it was down to tyres, he's on the harder tyre, that should hold up better. So as you say, Calames should not be going faster, which is what makes me think that this problem has got to be brake related. On this lap he's actually not been so bad and has not lost as much time, but nevertheless it's still lost a couple of tenths, and given that there are still going to be, after this lap, 5 laps to go, then that is not going to be easy to hold on to that.
Certainly won't.
And you can see Huis in the background like Jaws coming.
Yeah, but I think he is a little bit too far off though. Unless these guys are getting to an intense fight once more.
It's 1.2 seconds, so another 3 tenths from Calames, and next time around he's going to be within DRS. So this is now going to get it very interesting. Moran ran a little bit deep there in turn 1 as well, I think. I think it has to be a brake problem because he ran deep there into turn 1, just slightly, but it really compromised his exit. And I suspect that this is going to be a much faster first sector from Calames than it has been for Moran. Let's have a look as they go through. It's down to 1.1. He only lost a tenth and a half, but nevertheless, Calames is virtually there now, and Moran is really struggling.
He sure is. And he needs every part of his French hand guide book of racing to keep Ivar behind him. I mean,
what he needs is a car that's about as wide as the circuit. I think that's about what he needs here. As
I think Moran needs banana peels.
Mario Kart style.
Yeah, a little bit like that. No, but definitely this will be an intense battle on towards the finish line, because none of these guys can make a mistake. And there's also Bono still behind them, although he is behind for 5 seconds now, 5-6 seconds. I don't see him making up 1 second a lap on towards Ivar, to be honest. 25.5.
It's half a second.
Yeah, 7 tenths already. Now Ivar has the DRS wide open. You can see the difference being eaten away by Calames. Ooh, overshoots it a little bit, Calames.
Well, of course, now he's in DRS, you have to brake harder because you're at a higher speed when you reach the end of that straight, and that sometimes can catch you out just a little bit. But there's no doubt that Calamise is really in a good position now to potentially gain his first win of the season. Simoncic has just lost place to Greco, so Greco is now up into 6th place, and Morgan Moran is run wide on the exit of the De La Rocha chicane, and that's going to give Calamise the momentum. The only trouble is it's the Lesmos, and you're going to lose space in the dirty air there. I think we're going to have a three-way battle for the lead shortly, because Huis is only 4 seconds behind, so we'll watch out for that as well with 4 laps to go. 3.5 now, and Ivan Calamise
have a really weird feeling this will end in tears. I don't know why. I don't want to curse anyone, but I have a really weird feeling this is going to end in tears. Both want the victory so badly. And
well,
I
normally
think Ivar wants it more than anyone else. Morand, however, loses the momentum, and no tears are needed because he's just slowing down. Morand just giving the position up.
There's definitely got to be a brake problem there. I think there was a massive twitch as well halfway down the straight, which is very odd.
Yeah. He sure had, but now Ivar is leading again, and he deserved it as well, because Morand is just, he just doesn't have the best car today, it seems.
So yeah, so Morgan Moran then, and Bono Huis is going to be on his back in shortly. I'm wondering if Moran gave that position to Calamise because he didn't want to lose too much time. Because if you're thinking championship, the person he needs to keep behind him is not Calamise, it's Huis.
Definitely not.
But surely if he'd have battled with Calamise, he'd lose a lot of time. That's what I'm saying.
I surely disagree, but Ivar made a mistake here as well. No, of course not. I mean, he made a mistake, he lost the car, and he had a half throttle moment there. And he just made a mistake, and Ivar was close enough to capitalize on that. I mean, surely Morand wouldn't give a win up. He would fight till the end.
But we've seen time and time again
Morgan Moran with his DRS open.
I don't think Jaakko Mikkonen suggesting that it could be for a penalty earlier on, but with the speeds Moran was doing and they were consistent laps at a very slow pace, then I suspect that there is a problem there. I don't think that he would have...
I disagree with both. Otherwise, because Morgan Moran is fully attacking Ivar at this moment. We have, when they cross the finish line, 2 more laps to go. And it doesn't seem that Morand is
he's lost a lot of time through the parabolica though. I honestly think he's got a problem. We'll find out at the end, but he's just lost maybe half a second in that last corner alone. So
well, 27.5 for Morand, 25.5 for Bono. If Bono keeps up this pace, he might be able to take Morand out of the 2nd place spot. Just a big wow. Bono obviously did 1 stop more than the rest of the guys in front of him.
Matt Centel out of the race, and he was running quite highly as well. I think he was in about 12, so that's a really unfortunate. It was a great drive by the Mad Cape driver, because they've not had many ones like that. John-Eric Saxon and Peter Berliak are having a good battle down for 9th place with 2 points, but we'll keep our eye on the lead battle as Moran runs wide again in the Lesmos. And again, slightly at Lesmo 2. I don't think that would have cost him too much time though. But Huis is virtually there now. They're going to have 1 lap to go. They're about to go on to the final lap. I can't believe it's this close at this end of the race.
Well, the second sectors of Morand and Huis are virtually similar. So maybe if Huis has a last lap offense in order to make this a 1-2 for position, it would be a 1-3 with a proudly French guy from Networks in between of them, making it a nice sandwich. So let's see what they can do here. Last lap is running. Ivar Calamise leading, Morgan Moran 2nd, Bono Huis 3rd, and they are all captured within 3 seconds of each other.
Anything could happen in the next 3 miles. It's as simple as that.
I hope we can go on board with Bono for the remainder of this race, because he's really locking his tires into the first chicane.
This could come down to the parabolica at the end of the final lap. It could be awesome. That close.
Well, Bono takes 2 tenths out of Moran, but even more under the braking. Finds himself a better exit as well. So let's see here. Onto the first Lesmo. Towards the 2nd. Ooh, Bono's going wide! He overdoes it!
And that's the chance gone, I think.
Yeah, that's the chance gone, definitely, but at least he tried. Thumbs up for trying, Bono.
Borja Garcia unfortunately out of the race on the final lap in 14th place.
Well, he will get
FSR
classified
driver.
anyway. So
Yeah,
here
he's
it comes.
completed 90%.
If Ivar doesn't go up in the last corner of this race, he will surely get his first victory of the year. Here he comes, only Parabolica left. Keeps it together. Ivar Calamees driving for the Precision Motorsport Racing Team. Johannes Kunkel would be very proud indeed.
And there we go. Ivar Calamees wins in Italy with Morgan Moran second, Bono Huis third. Crucially for Moran, he keeps gaining points on Huis in the championship, so I don't think he'd be too disappointed. He won't, of course, want to lose a race, but nevertheless, he still gains points in the championship, and that has got to be good. And
yeah, still, Precision stealing this victory away from Netrex, of course. Netrex having his home Grand Prix. But I do believe Morant won Germany, didn't he? So, well...
Carlos Martin's doing a Michael Schumacher and serving a penalty on the last lap and coming over the line.
Oh.
And
he's actually fifth.
He's put him down. He's given him a penalty of on the time, by the look of it. The game has automatically done that. So he's classified as finishing on 1 hour, 18 minutes, 34 seconds. So I think that will that put him in front of Greco? No, it'll be behind Greco, behind Masciuli. Masciuli's just past Greco on the line, I think.
Yeah, so David Greco actually gets classified in front of him. Carlos Martin actually losing out a lot of places because of this penalty.
Yeah, he's going to be outside the points.
Wow. So he crossed the line in basically 4th place, but because of that penalty that's being added up, he is now in 11th.
I was under the impression, though, that the race stewards removed the penalties because they were
not this race, I believe.
Well, they did in Ace and Pro.
Yeah, okay. Well, last lap, I don't know how it is, but at least the results don't lie.
Well, the only thing I can think of is we were told we could cut the chicane exit at Ascari, but if you did that, the software would surely give you a penalty. So surely they still need to be removed, because we were told in the race briefings that we could do that. Anyway, I'm sure that will be sorted out later on. And Morgan Moran has just said that he let Ivar Calamees pass, so that may have been for the earlier incident by the look of it. I don't know. Let's find out from Morgan. But certainly he had... I don't know if he was entirely good on tyres and brakes, but he should have been. He was on a soft tyre.
Well, brilliant strategy from Bono, though. If he had one more lap, although he could have... Maybe if he didn't make that mistake last lap. But yeah, brilliant podium here. And of course, Carlos Martin is really frustrated that his penalty isn't being removed, because he's now in 11th. So, but yeah, brilliant day of racing here. Everything but boring, and we got a new winner in the season, so that's definitely a thumbs up. And Morand obviously leads the championship by 3 more points now. In terms of his standings with Bono, and well, with only 3 races remaining, things will get tight. So, I believe we are back in 2 weeks' time, aren't we, Thomas?
Yes, I think we are. We are back in 2 weeks' time when we'll be at, well, we hope we'll be at Spa. We're not entirely sure yet, so keep your eyes out on the forum.
It will get, I thought Suzuka would be the next.
Ah, right. No, well, the next track, I believe, is down to be Indianapolis, is it not? Which we did 2 weeks ago instead, because Spa wasn't ready because of some bugs. So I think that either we're going to be driving Spa, or as you say, we might be doing Suzuka and doing Spa at a later point.
Suzuka can't be dropped. I mean, what is a race?
Oh no, Suzuka won't be dropped. I think that's the race afterwards. That's what I'm saying.
Good. Well, then there's no man overboard. You can just drop the American Grand Prix of the Circuit Americas.
Yeah,
it's basically a rip-off of
I don't think they need to drop a race, because Indianapolis was done early. Indianapolis was already on the calendar, and it was done instead of Spa because Spa had some problems with
invisible walls and stuff.
So we aren't a track down. We should still be doing all of those tracks, Suzuka, Spa and the Circuit of Americas, but I think they're the 3 that we have got still to go. So we'll see which track we're at in 2 weeks' time. Keep an eye on the forums, but So we'll see you in 2 weeks' time for the next race. We understand we lost audio there for a moment, so we'll see you in 2 weeks' time, and that will be the next World Championship race. Thank you for watching with us today, despite the problems. Thanks for sticking with us.